Hey guys, and welcome back to a Now for Something a Little Bit Different, episode 64. I hope everybody is doing great out there and having a great week. I didn't get a chance to record last week, guys, so I am sorry about that. I missed you. Today, guys, I'm pretty excited. This is kind of an impromptu recording. As you can tell, I'm not my normal location. Um, I am going to be talking about a graphic novel. This is one that I've actually wanted to talk about for a while, and it's pretty awesome, guys. And that's not something I say lightly. There's so much good stuff out there that's being written, and honestly, guys, this thing is absolutely wonderful. Um, this thing I had such a fun time with, and I'm going to get into the story in a little bit and give you some details. Um, it's called Falling in Love on the Path to Hell. This is a book put out by Image. It came out 2024. I want to say June of 2024. The first issue was published. This graphic novel has the first four issues. I'm going to be talking about issue one. Issue one, it was released originally as like a 40-page issue, so it was a pretty big deal. I want to track it down because even though I don't normally buy individual comic books these days, um, I actually am interested in owning the series in the comic book format as well as the graphic novel format. Um, but before I get into that, guys, I just want to again thank you guys for listening to my show and supporting it. You guys have been awesome. Really, the support that I've received through everybody has been amazing, and I wouldn't be doing this without you guys. So let's keep it going. And you know, if you like the show, guys, do me a huge favor. Leave a comment, share it, let other people know about it, because that's how we get the word out there and get this thing moving. I'm starting to really grow an audience, and I'm having some really amazing guests um, coming on. And even better, I have some more lined up for the next couple months. So I'm really excited, guys. So, with all that said, first thing I'm going to do, guys, I don't have my tripod today, so you might see a little bit of the old Evil Dead shaky cam, so I apologize for those that get motion sick. Before I get into talking about the graphic novel, guys, I'm going to talk to you about what I've been watching. Now, I haven't seen a ton of stuff, guys. I did make it out to the theaters over the weekend, and I saw two films, and they were both pretty enjoyable, guys. I saw the first film, which was The Woman in the Yard. Now, this is directed by Jawam Khalid, probably got that name really wrong, so I apologize, Mr. Sarah. You guys probably know him recently from stuff like Carry On, which I haven't seen, Black Adam. He did Jungle Cruise. He did the first Orphan movie back in the day. He did the House of Wax remake. And the one that I really, really like, and I don't think it's talked about enough, The Shallows with Blake Lively, really solid little shark thriller, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. And I think that was maybe 2017, 2016. So yeah, this was his newest directed film, The Woman in the Yard. It stars a lady named Danielle Deadwyler. She's playing the main lead character named Ramona. Um, Ramona, before I get into the story of it, she's been in stuff like Carry On, uh, which came out in 2024, 40 Acres, also 2024, and I Saw the TV Glow, which came out in 2024. I haven't seen any of these movies. I know there's a lot of buzz around I Saw the TV Glow and 40 Acres. I know a lot of my fellow friends have mixed feelings about Carry On. Again, I haven't seen any of her previous work, um, but in this film, she was pretty impressive. She plays the role of Ramona, who's a mother, and she's living in a house somewhere down south. It seems like it looks like it's kind of a fixer-upper. She has two kids, one a daughter who's probably about maybe 6 or 7, and then a son that's probably like 13 or 14. She wakes up in the morning and her legs in a brace. She's looking at a video of her husband that he recorded, and you can see she's really distressed. So right away we get like an immediate idea that like, okay, more than likely her husband passed away and she's not in the greatest mental state. She's in a depression. And basically, um, you could see the tense relationship between her and her kids, um, especially with her older son, who's trying to kind of keep the family together, taking care of his younger sister. The mom loses her patience a lot. There's already like this really tight dynamic between the mother, the son, and the daughter. And then, lo and behold, um, they're having their breakfast and they see this woman, and she's shrouded in a black veil, and she's just sitting in the yard. And they go to approach her, and she just kind of mumbles something. Um, and basically, throughout the entire film, she kind of just gets closer and closer to the house. Um, mind you now, conveniently enough, mom didn't pay the electric bill. Her cell phone is completely without a charge, as well as her son's. So we're kind of suspending disbelief to a certain degree here. Um, but it's this movie is a horror movie, but what's interesting, and I don't want to give a spoiler away because there's a major spoiler that ties this woman in the yard and how she kind of just this chair she's in kind of gets closer and closer to the house. Um, but besides being a horror movie, it's about dealing with trauma and depression and anxiety, and then connecting that to um, a horror element. What's interesting is it's done very, very well. When I went to a screening of this, literally, guys, I had the theater to myself. It's been a while. I know some fellow friends have talked about how recently it's been happening more and more often where we go to the theaters and there might be 10 or 15 people or sometimes 12 people, you know what I mean? And they're right. I've seen that, but I'll tell you what, this is the first time I've been to a theater in a long time, guys, and it's been completely empty. And that was the case. Um, so see this movie, guys. It's pretty solid. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It does have some weaknesses, which you'll probably see when you watch the movie yourself. Um, but compared to some of the films that I've seen this year, and I'm a big genre fan, like a lot of you guys, there's a lot of stuff out there that's a lot worse. Um, so definitely worth checking out. Um, After that, I saw same day I saw Working Man. Now, Working Man is a Jason Statham film. It's got David Ayer directing it. Jason Statham just being awesome. Jason Statham kicking ass. Um, in supporting roles, we have people like David Harbour, who pops up, and then we have Michael Cena. Um, Personally, these guys are great, but they were both underused, especially Michael Cena. Um, the basic premise is Jason Statham is a guy who's working on a construction site for Michael Cena's family. He's been working there for many, many years. Uh, they have a really nice daughter who's like 19, 20 years old. She goes out to the club with her friends to celebrate her first semester at college. She basically gets kidnapped, and Michael Cena goes to Jason Statham's character to see what he can do to help because he comes from a background of past military experience, like special ops or something along those lines. Of course, Jason Statham also has some own drama in his life. We find out, little spoiler, but it's a Jason Statham movie, guys, so it's not that big of a spoiler. He has some own drama that he's dealing with. Apparently, we find out that his wife passed away through suicide while he was overseas fighting for the country due to severe depression, and his child was given not given but given custody to his father-in-law. Um, and there's a very tense relationship. So he's kind of trying to stay out of trouble. But when Michael Cena's character, or Cera, Michael Cera, I'm sorry, I probably got that wrong, comes up to him, he kind of initially doesn't want to do anything. But Michael Cera says, listen, I'll give you a shit ton of money. And it's not just the money. He does like Michael Cera's family a lot, and they treat him like he's one of their family. Um, all that said, guys, let's face it. When we go to a Jason Statham movie, 9 out of 10 times, it's all about Jason Statham being Jason Statham. I mean, um, the guy does have more range than I think people give him credit for. To me, I've seen some films he's done where he's actually given some really solid performances. Um, this is a middle of the road performance as far as the acting goes, but it doesn't matter because Jason Statham carries the movie on his charisma and he carries the movie on his ass kicking. And at the end of the day, like I said, when I go to see a Jason Statham movie, if it's one that's above average, that's awesome. Of course, you always want that as far as like a good story and solid acting. But really, when I go to see a Jason Statham movie, I think like a lot of people, he's an action guy primarily, and you just want to see him kick some motherfucking ass. And guess what, guys? Jason Statham is doing just that in this movie. So, yeah, definitely check both of those out. They're both worth your time, especially if you have like one of those movie pass kind of things. Like, like I have AMC A list. I can see up to 3 movies a week. So I usually go on the weekend. I try to do like either a Saturday or Sunday. I usually try to do like a double feature and try to do two back to back. So that's a couple things I've been watching lately. There's been some other stuff, but I'm going to save that because I'm going to have 2 more episodes this week, guys. That's right. I'm going to be dropping 2 more episodes with a special guest for each one, guys, and I'm pretty excited. I'm going to tell you more about that at the end of this episode. All right, guys, so that's what I've been watching. With all that said, I'm going to get into this amazing graphic novel, Love, Falling in Love on the Path to Hell. I forgot the name, guys, and it's standing here right there looking me in the face, and I forgot the name. All right. Uh, my brain's a little riled today. It's been a long day, guys. Before I get into the graphic novel, why don't I talk to you a little bit about the people behind the graphic novel? So it's published by Image Comic Books. Most of you guys know Image Comic Books. They've been around for a while. If you guys aren't familiar with Image Comic Books, the basic idea behind the company was these are a lot of artists and writers um, that used to work for like places like Marvel and DC, but they were kind of getting fucked. Marvel and DC didn't pay a lot, and they didn't give them any kind of creator rights. So that's how basically like Image, in a nutshell, I'm giving you the very brief, abbreviated version, but that's how Image was formed. So I've always been a fan of the idea of Image. They give creators their rights, their product, and they support them, and they pay pretty decently, from what I understand too. They're a pretty good company. But anyway, enough of my pro Image rant here. Um, yeah, so Falling in Love on the Path to Hell. Again, I don't know why I'm forgetting the name here. Was written by a guy named Jerry Duggan. So I'll tell you a little bit about him. He was born in New York City and raised in Ridgewater, New Jersey, and worked for 10 years in live TV, award shows, and several pilots. Um, he's worked at Marvel for stuff like X-Men, the Hulk, Nova, Deadpool, Hawkeye. And then for DC, he's done stuff like Batman, Arkham Manor, and eventually he would transition over to Image. He started working with Image by co-creating and writing the series The Last Christmas. He also wrote for Image The Infinite Horizon um, with fellow writer Phil Noto, which would go on to be nominated for an Eisner Award in 2008 for Best New Series. Um, Now, again, for people that don't know what an Eisner Award is, it's based off the legendary writer Will Eisner, who's basically the godfather of the graphic novel. And in the world of comic books, this is the closest thing I guess would be equivalent to like an Academy Award, effectively. Um, in 2014, he contributed to the video game Sunset Overdrive. Now, I've never played this game, guys, but it keeps on popping up, and it looks like my kind of game. It looks like a lot of fun. Um, Hold on one second. So, yeah, that is a little bit about our writer, Jerry Duggan. And then when it comes to our artist, we have a guy named Gary Brown. Now, Gary Brown is a Scottish illustrator currently working in California. He graduated from the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art in 2010, which, by the way, is a Jersey school. My buddy Toby Cypress, who is an amazing artist slash writer. Graduated there with honors. Good dude. He's been working in the industry for many, many years. If you go back and scroll to my earlier episodes, way back in the day, I covered his graphic novel Rod Racer. So a little piece of trivia about the tying into the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Novel Art. He's also worked on titles like stuff like The Iron Patriot for Marvel, Amazing Spider-Man, and then for DC, he's done stuff like Catwoman, um, and for Image, he's done the series The Viking Epic of Black Road. Hold on one second. Yeah, so that is a little bit about our writer and artist. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get into the actual story. I'm going to talk a little bit about our main two characters. Um, in this story, it's set in the late 1800s, like 1888. We have our main characters, McGrath, who's basically a badass gun for hire assassin cowboy. He's that guy that you see in the Western that nobody wants, the Western movies, the old Western movies that nobody wants to fuck with. And then we also have as our next main character, Ogata Asami. She was born into a samurai family and rebelled against the life that was expected of her. Her parents relented and trained her in the art of Bushido. So that is our main two characters. Just hang tight for a second because I'm going to read the prologue, and then I'm going to get into the story of the first. I'm going to talk about the first issue. The graphic novel gives you the first four issues, but I'm going to talk about the first issue, which is basically kind of like a prologue, a really long 40-page prologue into this world. So just bear with me, guys. Normally, I would have written this down on my tablet, but I'm going to actually read it from you because this was a little bit quicker, just to do it this way. I'm not going to read the entire story from the graphic novel word for word. I'm going to give you my interpretation of it. But I wanted to get this episode out today because I have a busy week ahead of me because I have two more episodes that I want to prep for. So I'm going to cheat a little bit here. Here we go. So bear with me, guys. In 1876, two events of significance occurred in Los Angeles. The Southern Pacific Railroad connected the city by rail to San Francisco, and the Cathedral of St. Vibiana was completed. Okay, so that is the prologue to our first story. We open up, and like I said, it's 1888 in Los Angeles, and we see this church, St. Vibiana, and when we get inside the church, it's nighttime, and we're introduced to a character name. Bear with me here. I wrote my character names down. Just hang tight for a second. Come on, tablet, work for me here. Bear with me, guys. I wrote these guys down. We got a character named Billings. Billings is a badass criminal with his posse, and he's hiding out in this church. And along with his fellow criminals, he's hiding out there, and one of them, who's basically a lackey, tells Billings, he's like, listen, this guy has chased us halfway across the desert. You know, I don't think he has the balls to come into this church and try to take us out, but I think we've already gone through so many gunmen. I think we need to hire more if we're going to get out of this alive. Because whatever vendetta he has against you, he's not stopping. And we never find out exactly why our main character, McGrath, is after this guy. I can imagine like I said, he's like a gun for hire. Um, they don't actually spell that out either. He might be just somebody that was wronged by this guy, Billings. But our main character, McGrath, is on this death train to take this guy out. So Billings is talking to his lackey. Meanwhile, a priest comes up to him, and priest is like, "Hey, listen, I don't have a lot of food, so I'm sorry, but this is what I have." And the guy's like, "Don't worry about our food." He's like, "As long as I got somewhere to sleep." And the priest is like, oh yeah, you can sleep on one of the pews. He's like, no, I'm not gonna sleep on one of the pews. I'll take your bed. And the priest is kind of taken aback by this. He's like, because the priest is putting this guy up, and it's very clear these guys are shady and they're they're criminals basically. Um, so at that point, you know, one of our lackeys here, he just tells one of the guards who's guarding the front door to the church, he's like, just make sure you keep an eye out because this guy could pull something and he could be here at any point. And of course, as he says that, from out of the shadows, McGrath, our Western cowboy, comes out and the guns are ablazing. And he's a badass. And we get some really fantastically beautiful, very cinematic, um, just death train guys. This guy's going nuts, killing everything in sight, and it's turning into a bloodbath. This thing would make an amazing miniseries. I would hope for a miniseries personally, or a movie. But either way, it could do one or the other really well, maybe even both. But anyway, we get this amazing set of pages sequences where McGrath is just taking out all these motherfuckers. He's the main motherfucker, and you better not mess with him. Uh, so it's really engaging, really beautifully drawn the artwork, and a really cool story. Um, and just as McGrath's about to walk away, he's about to head out the door. We see one guy on the ground get up. He fires his pistol and he shoots him right in the head. So it's just like, oh man. So that is the prologue for McGrath. Now, our next character, Ogata Asami, I'm going to give you her prologue and then I'm going to continue our story. Just bear with me. Like I said, this is just my interpretation, guys. Um, I'm not reading you verbatim the story. Now, I do give you a lot of spoilers, guys, um, but it doesn't take away from your experience reading this later on if you choose to buy this. Um, I've gone back and forth with the movies and the graphic novels about how to handle things. Like I was just for a while there, I was doing beat by beat story beat, and I really enjoy that, guys. And then for a while, I went back to just giving you guys a summary. And you know what? The more I do this, the more I realize I really like talking about story. Maybe it's because I was a writer at one point. I still like to dabble creatively every once in a while. I love diving into a story. So even though I'm giving you major spoilers here, guys, trust me, there's a lot more meat because there's still things that I'm living out. Um, and I don't want to give you everything, but I'm giving you a big chunk of it. And between the artwork and the story, you've got something really good here, guys. Trust me. So this is the prologue to our character Ogata Asami. It says, across the Pacific Ocean, the nation of Japan was in great turmoil. How this becomes relevant to McGrath's life is the crux of this tale. The imperial Magi government faced an uprising from the last of the samurai. The samurai lost. The Satsuma Rebellion of 1877 claimed tens of thousands of lives before being extinguished. The leaders were dead, and the disarming of the remaining rebels was underway on the island of Kyushu. So yeah, effectively, there's a big rebellion. Also, this takes place in 1877, but in Japan, and the samurai were forced to give up their weapons. Um, so when we get into the character of Ogata Asami, um, she was born into a samurai family and rebelled against the life that was expected of her. Her parents finally relented and trained her and dedicated her life to the life of Bushido. So obviously in that period of time in Japan, and I'm not like a martial arts guy like some of my friends are, really know more about the lore and the facts. It wasn't a thing where women were allowed to train, become samurai and warriors apparently. Um, but she relented. She bugged her parents, and they wouldn't. She convinced them like, hey, I'm not going to be some typical woman raising kids and being the typical subservient woman in that period of time. So they relent, they train her, but unfortunately, we get to this point in 1877, like I said, where this rebellion they do, um, the government wins out, and they're all forced to lay down their weapons. So we see Ogata Asami, and she's going to this temple where all of the samurai are forced to lay down their weapons. Um, Now she does this, um, obviously not happily, but her perspective is that she doesn't have um, a husband or kids to pass this down to. So while she's upset about this, she's come to terms with it because she has no other choice. Um, what we get next, just bear with me, guys. Uh, like I said, I'm not reading this down. I'm not reading you page per page, guys, from the comic book. I'm just giving you my interpretation. But there is something I wrote down that I did want to read from. So we see her lay down her sword. Like I said, she's not too upset about that. I mean, not she's thrilled about it, but she accepts the situation for what it is. But we see an old man, and he lays down his sword, um, but he refuses to lay down his Tsuba. And I looked this up because I wasn't sure what the word Tsuba means. It's Tsuba. When I looked up the definition of what Tsuba is, it's a sword guard and part of sword mounting. And apparently it's mounted between the sword's blade and the grip to protect the user's hands. And this old man, he'll lay down his sword, but he's refusing to lay down this Tsuba because it's part of his heritage, it's part of his family. Um, so basically, the local marquis, the head boss, magistrate, basically shoots this old man, in a very dishonorable manner. And this kind of sets off Ogata. Um, she just kind of loses her shit, and she picks up a sword from the pile, and she just goes on a fucking killing spree, guys. She kills everything in sight, and again, just like our man McGrath, there's these really amazing and beautiful cinematic scenes with gorgeous artwork. I'll show you guys some of the artwork after I'm done talking about the graphic novel. So yeah, we get these series of panels where she's just going fucking ape shit nuts, just killing everybody, guys. It's fucking awesome. It's really, really good. And unfortunately, just like McGrath, just as she kills everything in sight and she exits this temple, she's inspired an uprising. So they're all rebelling now. The samurai are like, yeah, fuck these guys. They're all going. We're getting this badass fight. The samurai are all picking up their swords and they're fighting, and they're kicking ass. But unfortunately, um, the head of the local marquis or magistrate, of course, is a big pussy, and even though they're kicking ass, she just walks away from it all, and he picks up a gun and he basically shoots her. Mind you now, no, hold on, she takes off the head of the main bad guy, the local magistrate. Pardon me, guys, I'm backpedaling here. She takes off the main boss's head. She just lops his head off, but one of his underlings shoots her, um, and she walks away, um, bleeding out as she's walking. Now, this is where things get interesting, guys, because she walks away um, to the beach. And I guess her idea is she knows she's dying, but she'll bleed out on the beach and disappear into the water and let the waves take her body away and catch one final view of the stars. Now, as she's doing this at the same exact time, we get our main man, McGrath. And McGrath, as where we just left him off before, where he was walking away as he got shot, he's walking out of the bar and the church, excuse me, and he's got a bottle of whiskey in his hands, of course, and he's accepted his fate. I mean, he's also walking to the water by him because apparently he's right by the beach too, uh, in L.A. So he's walking out the sands, the water, and again, same thing. It's at night, and simultaneously, they both, in different parts of the earth, look up, and the sky is like this pinkish, sparkly color, and like a flash of light pops up, and the next thing you know, they're both uh, just on this island, and the island is littered with dead bodies. And at first, um, they're both knocked out, basically. Just hang tight for a second, guys, because I'm just going to refresh myself for a second. Just bear with me. Yeah, there's a big bolt of lightning, and that's how that kind of transports them to this island. And they wash up on this island. Like I said, there's bodies everywhere, covered in blood and swords and stuff like that. And McGrath is the first one to get up. Ogata is face down on the ground, and she one eye kind of does one of these. She gets up and she pulls her sword and pulls it up to his neck like she's about to slit his throat. And he's like, "Hey, hold on now, easy, easy. I don't got no quarrel with you." And she's about to kill him when he says, "Lady, we ain't alone." And we see like this big, like almost demonic, like a snake spider character. I'll show you guys. You see this motherfucker pull up, and they fight that off because they realize instead of killing each other for no reason, by the way, because there's no reason to kill each other, they're both equally confused, wondering why they're on this island. They team up and fight this spider demon character. Next thing you know, we see a guy pull up in a turban. He looks like he's something out of Aladdin. He's from the Middle East, and he's got a scimitar, and he's welcome to nowhere. There is no leaving and no escape. I am Mohan. I see you guys have just survived today's corpse tide. Now, effectively, with that, he basically, this gentleman Mohan explains them. They're on this island, which is effectively like purgatory, effectively. This island, and each day at night when the sun goes down, a wave of monsters from hell come up and try to claim more victims. And each day they have to fight to survive from these demons unleashed from hell, effectively. And that's the end of the first issue. Now, from there, obviously, when you have a title like Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, you say, okay, well, where's the love? That'll happen later on in some of the other issues. And a lot of world building goes on in this world, guys. A lot of really interesting story. This thing, you can get it on Amazon for $10. You can also, I picked it up at Barnes and Noble, so probably paid a little more than that. I think I paid like 14 or 15. Should have went to Amazon first. Definitely worth $10 on Amazon for 4 issues, guys. I think the next volume, I think, is going to be coming out in the summertime. But this is honestly, guys, one of the best reads. Yes, one of the best reads I've had the chance to read in a while, guys. It's really beautifully written. It's not an overly complex story, but I think it's a different story. I think it's really interesting. And like I said, I'm going to try to show you some more of the artwork now, guys. Now, I do apologize again. I know I've already apologized about this, guys, but I do have a little shaky cam here going on, guys, because like I said, I don't have a tripod today. I'm just holding the camera up and recording. I don't know if there was some. Hold on one second, guys. Bear with me. I don't know. No. Okay. Well, this particular graphic novel does not have some bonus art, but it does have some cool art, like stuff like that. I'm gonna try to see if I can come up with some other cool pieces. Like you get like shit like this. See, nice head shopping, you know. There's a lot of good stuff going on in this comic book, guys. Definitely worth. Like I said, it's one of the best things I've read, probably in the last year. So for me, that's the highest praise it can get. This has been fantastic. Now, if you guys haven't read my review of Black Hammer by Jeff Lemire, which I did a couple months ago, that's another great series. That's absolutely fantastic. It takes the idea of a superhero team, but it's anything but your typical superhero team. Fucking fantastic. I have a bunch of other graphic novels that I haven't gotten around to reading because I've just been so busy, guys. Um, but I'm gonna try to make it a point, and you guys can hold me to this and kick me in the ass if I don't. I'm gonna try to get you guys at least once a month. I'm gonna try to get you a graphic novel review because I really do love comic books, guys. I absolutely adore a good story, and I love reading too. I just sometimes don't have the time for it. So that'll motivate me to put out more graphic novels. Just remind me, guys, if it's been a month and I haven't covered a graphic novel, say, John, get your shit together and cover a graphic novel, motherfucker. No. But yeah, so yeah, that's today's episode. It is a short episode. Definitely check this out, guys. Trust me, you're gonna absolutely adore it. With all that said, guys, I have two announcements to make for you. So this Sunday, because I'm a glutton for punishment, I'm gonna be recording two episodes. I'm gonna be recording an independent film that came out a few years ago. It's called 52577. What this is, it's basically a coming of age story that takes place in the 70s. Um, and it's really, really good. I will not give too much more away than that. I'm also going to have a special guest, but that special guest is going to remain a surprise for right now. So I'm going to be talking about that film. And then later on in the day, Sunday, I'm also going to be recording an episode with my good buddy Dave Gray from Raiders of the Podcast. And guys, this is going to be amazing. We're going to be talking about the newest film from the independent animator, Bill Plympton. Now, Bill Plympton, if you guys don't know who Bill Plympton is, you absolutely need to check out as much Bill Plympton as possible. Bill Plympton is absolutely amazing. Um, he's been nominated for an Academy Award. I think probably twice, if I'm not mistaken. He's won several awards. Just a super unique and interesting filmmaker, and he was very kind and generous by sending me a link to his newest film. It's called Slide. It's a musical and it's a western. It's a lot of fun. Um, and it hasn't even hit theaters yet. It's playing in film festivals, and hoping that it's going to get released later on this year. Now, Bill Plympton, if you are familiar with him or you want to get familiar with him, definitely check out a lot of his stuff, guys. Highly recommended. Um, two of his films have just been released to Deaf Crocodile. One is called I Married a Strange Person. That got released a couple days ago. And later this month, Mutant Aliens, which is his take on a sci 1950s like sci-fi alien movie. Um, that's coming out at the end of this month. But he's got a ton of films, guys. So definitely look into his resume. Ton of short films, ton of feature films. He's worked with guys like Weird Al. He's done stuff, believe it or not, with Kanye West early on in his career. He's done music videos. He's done commercials. Like I said, super, super unique, really, really funny, really absurd stuff. So, yeah, those are two episodes that I'm going to be dropping on Sunday, guys. So you're going to be getting um, three episodes in 1 week, guys. I'm telling you, put me to work here, man. No, I mean seriously, I love doing this, and I felt bad that I couldn't get anything out last week. It was just a really insane week. So, with all that said, guys, before I head out, I do want to give a big shout out to people you guys should be listening to. I'm going to start with good old Troy and Brad with the Not a Bomb podcast. Each week, these guys release a new episode. And basically, they look at films that were either a critical failure or a commercial failure. This week was really good. They did a movie matchup, which they talk about two films. Um, I think they talked about Metro and shit, guys. I'm sorry, I can't remember the other film, but it was two Eddie Murphy films that came out in the '90s. Um, I was on the show earlier this month where we talked about Terminal Velocity, um, and another film which I can't remember the name. Oh shit, I can't remember that in the movie. I'm sorry. Troy and Brad are going to kill me. But they talk about really interesting films, and it's the usual format is films that were either a critical failure or a commercial failure. Um, and great show. Oh, the other film was Drop Zone, Terminal Velocity and Drop Zone. I was on that episode in the beginning of the month, or the beginning of March, excuse me. So check out Not a Bomb. Of course, we've got Will and Sam over at the Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. These guys pick some really obscure and interesting stuff, but then they'll do something new as well. You know, they talk about such an eclectic, different group of films, and they do it so well. So check out Will and Sam, The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. These guys were a huge inspiration, as well as the Not a Bomb guys. When I sat down to come up with the concept for my show, and really just give me the inspiration to just go ahead and do something like this, you know? So The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. Of course, you've got Raiders of the Podcast. You know, Raiders of the Podcast, these crazy motherfuckers every week talk about two different films, you know, and then they got like last week where they did an episode where they talked about four different films. All right. And they're absolutely out of their mind, and I love them. It's an absolutely wonderful show. And I'm usually laughing half the time as they they battle it out about their movies, and they also have really interesting things to say about the movies. So they're very entertaining. Definitely check out Raiders of the Podcast. Of course, Caliber 9 from Outer Space. Rob and Joe have become really good friends. They have again, they talk about two films every week, and they really do a really good job of matching two different films. A lot of times it's two films that are connected with some sort of similar theme. They have their A movie and their B movie. They've been on my show a bunch of times. They've been super supportive of my show, and I've tried to be this super supportive of their show because I absolutely adore it. So definitely check out Caliber 9 from Outer Space with Rob and Joe. Wonderful show. And of course, watch Skip Plus with Jose and Mike the Wildebeest. These guys are doing the Lord's work, guys, because these guys are doing the hard stuff. I mean, I can pull up Tubi anytime on my phone, even if I get desperate, or I can pop in a Blu-ray disc. But these guys are hitting the movie theaters every week, and they're talking about the stuff that's currently playing in the theaters. Um, I have so much respect for that, and part of the reason I have so much respect for that is I have a memory like Swiss cheese, guys. So for me to remember something I just watched um, is very challenging. A lot of times when you see me talking about a film, I know it sounds like I'm a fucking crazy person for saying admitting this, but if I'm talking about a film that I'm going to record on Sunday, I probably watched it throughout the week at least twice, sometimes three times, because I try to do a viewing that's just fun, and then I try to do at least another viewing where I'm thinking more critically, and I'm trying to think about what I'm going to say as I'm watching it. Now, I could eliminate that and just do all that in the first viewing. I know that, but it's just not the way my brain works. So a lot of times I'll do at least two viewings, and it's on some occasions I'll do three viewings. Um, depends on the film, you know what I mean? But these guys, like I said, they're covering the stuff that's playing in the theaters, and like I said, Mike the Wildebeest and good old Cupcake Jose. These guys have great chemistry, and they really put on an awesome show, guys. So definitely check them out. I know they just talked about the Snow White movie that came out last week. So that's their newest episode. So check that out. They have some really interesting thoughts on that, and I think you'll enjoy the show. Um, oh, one more show you guys should definitely listen to. Alex has a show called My friend Alex has a show called Friends with Cinephits. Alex used to be on Watch Skip Plus with Jose, and then he took a break and decided to do this show. Which I think it was a show that he had done a couple of years ago, and he revived it. So definitely check out Friends with Cinephits. Alex has a great little show, and that's a YouTube show as well, like myself. So, Alex, if you're listening to this, I reached out to you, buddy. Get back to me. I want to get you on my show, and I want to come on your show. So I don't know if you're going to listen to this or not, Alex, but if you are. So that's it for today, guys. This was a little bit of a shorter episode, so I do apologize. Um, but it's just one issue of a comic book. So there's no reason for me to go on for an hour and a half to talk about that. But trust me, guys, when I tell you this is one of the best things I've read in a while, it's one of the best things I've read in a while. Um, it's a lot of fun, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. If you're a comic book nerd, go on Amazon and spend that $10, guys. Thank me later on. You're going to love it. So that's it for now, guys. I hope you guys all have yourself a wonderful weekend. Or excuse me, we're on Tuesday here, so a great rest of the wonderful week. And I'll see you guys on Sunday with my new episode.